after this.
Hey guys, welcome to my little video on Pillars of Eternity. So the reason I'm doing this is I just got done playing a very fun game called Divinity Original Sin. Maybe you've heard of it. It's by Larian Studios. And just this week actually they announced, well, they haven't announced, but they've teased that there's going to be some interesting content coming as a follow-up to that game. But between that game and The Witcher coming out, I figured I'd spend a little bit of time to play this game, which is being touted as a really fantastic game by the RPG makers themselves, Obsidian, and this got kickstarted last year. Actually, I think it was 2013. It's a very old-school CRPG. Much different from Divinity Original Sin. If you enjoyed Divinity Original Sin, this is, I would say, a little bit more cryptic, and I'll give sort of an example of why that is. First of all, I don't really know how many people I can have in my party. I'm assuming, based on the portraits down here, that it's probably 6. I haven't really, if there's been a tooltip or anything, I don't quite know. The game itself it has that old school kind of feeling. One of the cool things about it are these things called the weapon sets over here. And with these, there are enemies that are resistant to certain types of damage, whether it be slash damage, pierce damage, or crushing damage, as well as the magic types, I suppose, which there are 6. There's quite a few. In this game, you're going to have your wizards prepare spells ahead of time and things like that. So it's a very, very old school tabletop RPG kind of style. So if you're into that kind of thing, then this game's probably up your alley. Otherwise, it may be a bit too cryptic for you. And I will say right off the bat that the game really holds your hand even less than Divinity Original Sin did. And I'm gonna cite Divinity a lot in the time I look at this game, because it's a CRPG as well, but it's in a quite nearly different style than Obsidian's manifestation of the CRPG in modern day. Obviously, this game probably has better graphics, I would say. But I want to go through some of the brief things here for those who haven't quite seen the game. So the tooltips, they look a bit like this, and there's a lot of words on them. They give you an overall glimpse at damage type and speed of weapons and things like that, and obviously everybody has a different class. I played a Berserker, which is like a two-handed warrior type. I made sword and board fighter as well, and these are some of the NPCs you pick up, these bottom 3 guys along the way, and they have story components along with them. I presume they have some kind of companion quest. I think this guy gave me one right over here, Trials of Durance. I have to travel with him for some time. I guess something will happen from that. But besides your party having a main inventory over here, you also have something called a stash, and for some reason every time I pick something up it's going straight into the stash. I have to figure out exactly why that is, but I don't know right now. I'm relatively new to the game. I've only been playing maybe 2 hours, maybe not even that, and there's been quite a few cutscenes and action-oriented scenes going on that have kind of filled the time of the game up to now. What more is there to say? I guess I'm going to show you guys some combat. This game relies heavily on fog of war element. As you can see, there is a world map, but you have to go from area to area on the world map, making your way to wherever you need to be. And there's also an apparent time-based component every time you travel to the edge of the map here. Well, not here, but to an edge of the map that leads to stuff. You can see these little compass points, and that will allow you to travel to the next area as so, and you can click on an adjacent one or one you've actually been to already, so, and it will pop up and say 6 hours, and if I want to travel farther it'll be 18 hours. You see that? So I'm not quite sure how that all plays to the grand scheme of things just yet. I'm learning as you go, as many of these old school RPGs were. They didn't give you a whole lot of information. You really had to learn the games as you played them. This game is also relatively young, There's not a whole ton of stuff out there on the net about it, but there's some class guides and some stuff to get you going. It's not as fleshed out as a title that's been around for quite a long time. I haven't admittedly been on their forums yet either. I've kind of been trying to play the game and experience it rather organically, so I have a just try to see like by myself how much can I really grasp on this game. So here we are. I've approached this little camp down here, and apparently these guys want to speak to me, so I'm gonna engage them in dialogue rather than because I don't have to fight them. As with these CRPGs, there's quite a bit of reading as well.
How do you do?
And the voice acting it's pretty spread out. There's some sentences that are completely read by the NPCs, and others that you just read yourself. So I'm gonna go through this dialogue here real quick. This was an NPC that another NPC sent me for on a quest to find. Alright, so apparently the item that I am looking for is at the camp in the northeast, and I have to go clear this out for him, I suppose. So the greater areas that I showed you on the world map before are split up into these smaller areas that are fogged out, and this is where you do your XPing. So every one of these areas you'll want to uncover in their entirety. Like with most CRPGs, you're going to be hitting the F5 button, which is quick save a lot, and probably the F8. This game is probably as big a nuisance on save scumming, as they call it, as any other CRPG you may have played. And with the cryptic nature of it this early in the game for me, I've been doing quite a bit of it, but it's mostly been to conserve my sanity. As one of the Divinity tooltips actually suggests, you save often to spare your blood pressure. I have inherited that here. So here's combat. So these little dudes are called the Zorips, and using the battle log here, when you're fighting them, you can actually determine, or looking at the pop-up, the fly text, what they might be resisting in terms of your damage, physical damage. And that helps you sort of select what weapon type you might attack them with. I haven't been that observant. This is only the third area that I've actually been in. This is only the second time I've encountered these guys. But if you are very observant, you can you might very well be able to see. So combat will start paused, and this is a pause, start, stop and start kind of RPG system. If you're familiar with KOTOR, or even the way Dragon Age Inquisition tried to implement it, or Dragon Age Origins, which is probably more accurate, this will have you doing that. So you can select your entire party or individual members, and you can queue up spells for them to use if you'd like them to use things. Some spells are limited by the amount of times you can use them per day. Some are by encounter, like this one right here, two per encounter. So these are useful to always, want to use and stuff once the battle is sort of set. And then your daily spells, you kind of want to save those for maybe the bigger battles, and you get those back by using the camp down here at certain points, whatever, and that also progresses the timeline of things. So I'm gonna look at my wizards here, and this guy is kind of a healer typey since he's a priest, and I can kind of decide for a minute that I want to do some armor of faith. So I'm going to keep everyone in that sort of radius for the time being. But I can pause and continue and all that other fun stuff. See, I can there is friendly fire, by the way. As far as I know, there's friendly fire. And yeah, so you can do this kind of stuff. You can use your warriors as well, so you might want to queue something up here. And let my berserker use this ability. Pause the game. to use this thing called Barbaric Blow on that enemy. It's going to kill it. So one of the things about this is you kind of want to gang up on, you know, the different enemies here. So he ran over to hit the priest, which is probably a good idea, actually. But yeah, I see that one of my warriors is a bit low in health here, so I'm going to maybe want to get her endurance up. Maybe I want to move back here a bit to get this endurance. So this little thing back over here, this is your HP down here. If you get to 0, you obviously die. And your characters do permanently die, at least the hirelings you get, of which I have this one right here, who I've named Jaya. But the actual other NPCs, I'm not sure. I guess they die too? I haven't experienced that because they don't suck that bad. Looks like we've got another enemy coming from the south here, which is interesting. So I'm going to make some decisions here on what I want to do. I'm maybe not making the best decisions here. So I'm kind of talking and trying to do this at the same time, but I'm going to try to resolve some of these enemies here through brute force. I'm going to look at their little health bars, which are represented by little dots. And I'm going to look over here maybe and see maybe what they are resisting, perhaps. We got 4 damage reduction by default. See that as DR. This actually shows you like full D20 type calculation stuff. So if you're unfamiliar with this, this is probably just some gibberish bullshit for you, and you really don't care. But yeah, you can look at these and see sort of what they're resisting. Perhaps I don't think they resist anything in particular. So I'm doing okay. I'm gonna gang up on these guys here. You know, just keep pounding away at them. See that my berserker here is a bit low on endurance, which is that red stuff. You don't want to get that to 0 because you will essentially collapse. So this guy, he restores some endurance, so I'm gonna have him cast it on my main hero. You'll see his red bar go up. No, it was a bit slow on the casting time there. And that kind of stuff happens here. Happens a lot. And once they're down, you know. But he will get up at the end of the battle, and his endurance will regenerate automatically like that. So it's you know, it's an odd combat system. It's really, you know, it's involved with a lot of stop-start if you play it that way, and for the most part, you kind of have to play it that way to take advantage of the encounter stuff. You know, anytime you have something that's limited by encounter, and you don't do that, you're probably missing out on something you could be doing to make that particular encounter easier, or whatever the case may be. But you know, I'm just new at this game, so what the hell do I know? What I do know is that I have completed the objective for this quest, as far as I know. So I've cleared out the orbs here. It says I dealt with them, so now she'll be willing to help me, hopefully. So I will go and talk to that NPC with my entire party. And by the way, you can split up your party. See these 5 green marks are my whole party moving. You can select one member, select between different members, or select them all, much like old school style. There's also a drag system like this with the green box. Really familiarize yourself with the game. I'll resolve this quest now. Quest never ends. Alright, so she's going to send me on yet another quest here. And I'm going to go and accomplish that, but I hope that for those who are considering getting into this game, that this little brief look has been helpful to you. So, I'm gonna probably stop recording here pretty soon and do this. I'll do this combat first. Why the hell not? There's only 2 enemies here, so we're gonna do the typical thing here. Pause it. Let me use this encounter stuff here. See how that goes. Mages seem particularly useful. See how quick I did that? And this game does allow you to loot all as well, which is rather helpful. Don't forget to save scum. Alright guys, well, like I said, I hope this has been helpful to you. I don't know if I'll cover this game entirely, but maybe I'll check in at some point. Thanks for listening and watching, and I hope that it was helpful to you in determining whether or not you want to look at this game or something. I don't know. A lot of shit on YouTube, though. Don't take my word for it. Peace out and have a good one.